I am so excited for how Marvel's about to introduce the X-Men into the MCU, and it's all because of Sadie Sink's character in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and we think we figured out who her mystery character is and how this is the perfect setup for the mutant age of the MCU. So when Sadie Sink was cast in Brand New Day, it was kind of strange that Marvel didn't confirm who she was playing. Like, it's very weird that they still haven't confirmed the character, making us naturally assume that this must be some huge piece of casting, like it must be secret for a reason. Now, we've had some fun speculating on this point. Hell, we even talked about it for an hour on our ScreenCrush Rewind podcast this week. See, early on, I thought she might be playing Mayday Parker. She's the daughter of Peter and Mary Jane from another universe. After all, the last Spider-Man movie was about setting up the multiverse saga, and it would have been cool to see that Tobey's Spider-Man and Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane had a kid. But it looks like Brand New Day is going to be completely divorced from the multiverse saga. They are doubling down on street-level concerns, bringing in the Punisher and making Damage Control a key antagonist of the film. Damage Control is, of course, the government agency that used to clean up after superheroes, and now they just clean up superheroes. In the show Wonder Man, we saw that they're trying to arrest anyone just to justify their own funding and protect their jobs. So they are the most villainous creature of all. A bureaucrat. Exactly. So all we have right now about this movie are rumors. So spoiler alert for these rumors and the very scant details we've heard so far.
Spoiler alert!
See, the story seems to be that Sadie Sink's character's sister had died under mysterious circumstances, and Damage Control is searching for her. So she takes up with the Punisher, who is protecting her, and there are rumors that she has mind control powers. So, like, the mind control powers thing automatically rules out several possibilities, like Punisher's partner Rachel Cole or Firestar, who lived with Spider-Man on the Amazing Friends TV show. So this leaves three characters that Sadie could be playing. There's Shathra, a multiversal wasp entity who won't be in this movie. There's also Jean Grey, who is one of the earliest and most important characters in Marvel Comics. Many people speculated that she could be Jean just because she has red hair, but the secrecy also lends itself to this being the answer. I mean, why else keep her role a secret? Because they want to reveal that she's actually the first X-Man to be introduced in this universe. But I'm starting to think it's just as likely that she is playing Typhoid Mary, who is also a mutant. So whether she is Jean or Typhoid Mary, this is a huge indication of how Marvel is going to introduce mutants into the MCU, and it's the absolute perfect path for them to take. But before we talk about Jean Grey, let me explain Typhoid Mary, because I'm betting that a lot of you are not familiar with her. She's mainly a daredevil villain who has dissociative identity disorder, just like Moon Knight. One of her identities is a calm, docile person, and the other is a raging psychopath. Her powers are telekinesis, pyrokinesis, meaning she can create fire, and, more importantly, mind control. She was actually planned to be the villain of Daredevil Season 4 before Netflix canceled the series, and a kind of version of her named Mary Walker was the villain in Iron Fist Season 2, which I have not watched. I am finally watching Punisher Season 2, and it's incredible. It has me really excited for what Dario Scartapane has for us in Season 2 of Born Again.
Oh, well, see, that's a really good point, because I started to...
Oh, hang on a second. Perfect timing. I'm just starting to get hungry.
Oh, me too. Is that puppy food?
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm afraid not. But every month, Tokyo Treat does send us a snack box with authentic Japanese snacks. Let's check this out. Oh, I have no idea what any of this is, and that's really the fun of it. You see, each box includes this cultural booklet that explains the significance of each item, provides allergy information, and also offers insight into Japanese culture. You have articles like this that are about Japan, but then you also have explanations of the delicious snacks that I'm about to eat. And guys, they put everything in this box, everything you've ever heard of, and everything you've probably never heard of. There's limited edition chips and noodles and treats, all straight from Japanese-owned stores. That's why I love having Tokyo Treat as a sponsor of this video. But first, I want to try the Kit Kats because they always have the best Kit Kats you can never find anywhere in the United States. These are the Sakura theme. These are from the Cherry Blossom Festival going on in Tokyo right now. Never had this before. I assume it'll taste like cherries, but I really don't know. Oh my God, what? Why don't they sell this in the United States? This is perfect. And then I can read about the snack and, see what the details are for them. But then they send other snacks like these cherry blossom cookies, which I'm also going to try now. Oh God, it's like a gingerbread cookie that tastes like cherries. This is delicious. So guys, this is all part of Tokyo Treat's Spring Box. It's filled with these limited edition flavors that you usually can't get outside of Japan, especially during cherry blossom season. So if you know somebody who likes anime, Japanese culture, Tokyo Treat makes a great gift for others or for yourself. You can check out their Sakura offers with our link below and use our code to get $5 off your first box. You won't regret it. This is like something I look forward to every single month. Big thanks to Tokyo Treat for sponsoring this video. Now back to what I was saying. insane. Now, Typhoid Mary would make the most sense for this movie because it is a grounded Spider-Man film. She's primarily a Daredevil villain, and she's also lovers with the Kingpin. And Brand New Day is co-starring the Punisher, and I'd bet my bottom teeth that Daredevil is also appearing in this movie. These are really good snacks. Now that could be why they're keeping Typhoid Mary a secret, because she's tied so closely to Daredevil. Typhoid Mary would also be a great fit for the movie because of her double identity. This is a film where Peter Parker is probably going to be struggling with the fact that he doesn't exist, as his life as Spider-Man has wholly consumed him. The Hulk is also in the movie, who's also a character who is defined by his warring double identities. Frank Castle, the Punisher, would also be sympathetic to Mary because he knows what it's like when the world judges you for a violent nature that you can't control. And also in Punisher Season 2, Frank Castle is looking after a young woman, just like he apparently looks after Sadie Sink. But most importantly, Typhoid Mary is a mutant. So whether Sadie Sink is playing Mary or Jean Grey, this is very, very exciting for how Marvel plans to introduce mutants into the MCU. So let me give you a quick rundown of how Marvel has dealt with mutants in the past before I talk about how Sadie Sink's Jean Grey or Typhoid Mary is the absolute best way to bring mutant kind into the saga. In its early years, X-Men was one of Marvel's worst selling comics. It seemed like an afterthought for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who were in the middle of their Imperial period of the 1960s, creating characters like Spider-Man, Thor, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, the list goes on and on. In fact, X-Men eventually sold so low that for several issues, they just ran reprints of older issues. Then it was revitalized with a new team, and Chris Claremont began his 15-year run on the book, not just turning it into a bestseller, but also spinning them off into an entire new wing of Marvel Comics. Now, the premise of the X-Men is deceptively simple. Some people are born with powers at birth, and this scares the hell out of everybody. See, that's the driving emotion behind all X-Men stories: fear. The humans are scared of mutants. Mutants are scared of each other, and most importantly, mutants are scared of their own abilities. This underlying fear is the catalyst for most great X-Men stories. They are the only super team that is actively fighting against their own extinction. We actually owe the current age of Marvel on screen to the X-Men, but not to the movie. No, it actually all began with this. Now, we take it for granted now, but X-Men the Animated Series was bold because it was a Saturday morning cartoon that took itself seriously. There was pathos.
Why is this happening to me? I used to be a normal kid. It's not my fault.
Bigotry.
Why do you hate us? What did we ever do to you?
You were born.
And lots of self-pity. The success and the seriousness of the animated series is why Fox greenlit the X-Men movie, which also took itself so seriously they couldn't even wear comic-accurate costumes. Now, it's important to note that Fox made the X-Men films because Marvel went bankrupt in the 1990s and then sold the film rights to their major characters. This meant that as long as 20th Century Fox kept making X-Men films, they held the film rights in perpetuity.
Which is the gland that causes puberty.
No, it basically means forever. Now, this is a big part of the reason that Disney bought 20th Century Fox, just so Marvel Studios could hold the film rights to their most popular characters. Personally, I expected Marvel to use the film rights to, I don't know, introduce the X-Men into the MCU. It would make sense if, say, Thanos' snap had kick-started human evolution and mutants started popping up everywhere. But instead, they held back.
Oh, and when are we getting the X-Men?
I cannot tell you that.
Kevin Feige said back in 2018 that they planned their phases 5 to 10 years in advance, so they didn't want to speed run the X-Men. Where was that kind of quality control in Secret Invasion, am I right? Now instead, mutants were introduced through the multiverse. Professor Xavier appeared in Multiverse of Madness. Ms. Marvel was retconned into being a mutant.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes, like a mutation.
And of course, there's the stellar X-Men 97, which is one of the best X-Men stories ever put to screen.
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
But in all of this, we didn't actually see mutants introduced in the universe of the MCU. Instead, we've gotten a series of goodbyes to these characters. Logan was supposed to be a goodbye to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Simon Kinberg's Dark Phoenix was an ending to the First Class era of the prequel films. And Deadpool and Wolverine even included a sappy montage to Green Day's Good Riddance. So even after all that, they're still bringing back those original X-Men for one last victory lap in Doomsday. And I think this makes sense on a personal level for Kevin Feige. His first gig at Marvel was working as an associate producer on X-Men, so this is a full circle kind of moment for him. He wants to give Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and James Marsden the proper goodbye film that they never got. He wants them to have their own Star Trek VI. And don't get me wrong, I think the MCU so far has handled mutants pretty well. After all, they gave us this.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
I like that line so much, we put it on a t-shirt, the "Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself." We have other great X-Men parody merch like X-Men in the Nighthawk's Diner, Remember It, Fraser Beast, and many, many more. Links for these are down below, and shopping our merch store really does help support our channel. Thank you guys for helping us out. Links are below. Now look, of course we don't know the full plot of Doomsday and Secret Wars, but we do know the comic book that it's based on. And Kevin Feige has said that they're mostly going to be done with multiverse stories after Secret Wars. Like, they're not going to stop making Fantastic Four movies, so this means that some of the multiversal characters will merge into the MCU's universe. The comic book Secret Wars kind of ends with the same thing happening. The universe is sort of reset, with a couple of characters from another reality joining the main 616 universe. So I've been wondering, what does this mean for the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? They could easily bring in characters from the Fox X-Men movies. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Hugh Jackman, maybe even James Marsden. Like, they could keep that particular franchise going, except now with 100% more options for Hulk. And guys, I've been genuinely worried they were gonna do this. Like, you know, in the quiet moments in an elevator, the thought would cross my mind, I really hope they don't keep the Fox X-Men franchise going. Because let's face it, most of those movies suck. I mean, that franchise was running on fumes for a long time.
What do you think the X in X-Men stands for?
I wanted the MCU to reinvigorate the X-Men like they did for Spider-Man in Homecoming, and it looks like now that's exactly what's going to happen. So let's talk about Sadie Sink as a mutant in Brand New Day, and even though I think she's 50-50 either Typhoid Mary or Jean Grey, I'm going to talk about her character like she's Jean. See, the casting, no matter what, means that Marvel is starting the mutant saga from scratch, and they are going to slowly reintroduce these characters and form the team slowly over a series of movies. Jean Grey is a runaway teen who can't control her mutant powers, and she's being pursued by government authorities. Like, maybe in this movie we meet Jean Grey, but in another film we'll meet Cyclops, Angel, Iceman, or Beast. We could actually see the original lineup of the team on screen together for the first time. Well, I mean, except for those flashbacks in X-Men 97. We should start off seeing the X-Men being the victim of some kind of bigotry. For Sadie Sink, it's being chased by the government. For Beast, he might be ostracized for his physical appearance. Or for Angel, his rich dad would force him to get his wings cut off like we saw in the opening of X-Men 3. So then, in the first X-Men movie, we could meet these mutant teenagers as runaways. Maybe they're being pursued by evil mutants or the government, or an evil mutant in the government. I even think that one of the young mutants should die early in the film. So when Professor Xavier finds them at the end of the movie, there's actually stakes for this school. So from here on out, we know that his school is not just a place where they can learn to use their powers, it is a sanctuary. We have already seen what will happen if the school fails. These kids could die. Those are stakes that we would never see in an Avengers film. Like, the premise of the Avengers movies is the world needs these heroes. In the X-Men movies, it should feel like the heroes are the one who needs the team. We've never seen the X-Men introduced like this on screen. In both the animated series and in the first film, the X-Men are already an established team, and we meet them through the eyes of a runaway teenage girl. The existence of mutants is revealed through exposition, and we understand that this is already a problem that the governments of the world are dealing with.
The fact that the perpetrator is believed to be a mutant has fueled current anti-mutant hysteria now growing nationwide.
The truth is that mutants are very real. We must know who they are, and above all, we must know what they can do.
But in the MCU, we have an opportunity to see the world learn about mutants for the first time. Just like how Spider-Man Homecoming gave us our first look at Peter's awkward high school years, MCU X-Men movies can show us the growing bigotry toward mutants. And I know some of you are going to say that First Class already did this, but not really. I think the movie's great, but it didn't really use the 1960s setting to show us bigotry toward mutants. Instead, we got a lot of chatter about how they are different or how they're ostracized. We didn't really see it on screen. Plus, that universe, frankly, was never like our own. Mutants have been public at least since the 1970s. And in the Fox movies, we always hear about the bigotry, but we don't get many storylines where we see it firsthand. And when we do, like in X2, those are the best stories in the franchise. But the MCU has a unique opportunity here to show us character moments that tell us why mutants are so feared. The big difference between MCU mutants and the Fox mutants could be that these stories can start with character first, but then use characters to tell a larger premise. For example, I mentioned that Jubilee and Rogue were our entryways into the X-Men universe, but each of their stories were quickly overshadowed by the grown-ups. As soon as Jubilee meets the X-Men, she becomes a second-tier character. And Rogue does not get a tour of the school. Logan does. She becomes a secondary character in the movie the moment they arrive at the mansion. But imagine if we start this franchise and there are no adults. We start with the X-Men, all as teenagers, learning to handle their powers. And then in future films, they take on other students and then they mature into teachers. So we're going to start with character first and then use character to introduce the larger premise of this story. Sadie Sink as Jean Grey also makes so much sense. Jean was the first mutant that Professor Xavier ever taught. She'd watched her sister die at the exact point that her mutant powers manifested. So she was in her sister's mind as she passed away, which by the way is in keeping with rumors from Brand New Day that Sadie Sink's character's sister died under mysterious circumstances. So because Jean's mind was basically shattered, the professor taught her first. He taught her how to use her mental abilities. So it would make sense if in the MCU she's the first person he recruits into his new team. And there are already existing plot lines in the MCU that can be used to amplify the response to the mutant threat.
Yeah, but aren't there already people with powers in the MCU? I mean, what makes the mutants so different?
Well, the MCU is filled with crazy stuff.
Androids, aliens, and wizards.
Like the world lost half its population, then just kept on going. But mutants, you see, are different. See, right now, there is a very small percentage of people who have superpowers. But mutants don't need a tragic origin story. Anybody can be born a mutant. Your own child could be one of them.
Let's just hope the neighbors never find out our beautiful Jubilee's a mutant.
This would be seen as an exponential increase in the threat level of people with powers, and the government would be forced to step in. And we already have the Department of Damage Control, a government agency that's struggling to justify its own existence. They could become the go-to mutant hunters in the new saga. In No Way Home, they see Stark drones, which we saw them use to hunt down one mutant, Kamala Khan. So maybe they'll start using those old Iron Legion bots, and then they'll evolve into Sentinels. And if Marvel really wants to have some fun with this, bring in Justin Hammer to do the work. Let's make this the story of Armor Wars. Years ago, Marvel announced Armor Wars as a TV series and then a movie that would be about Rhodey hunting down people who are misusing old Stark tech. It's been in development hell. Don Cheadle even joked,
What's Armor Wars?
So maybe this is the plot of Armor Wars. The government is using Tony's technology to hunt down innocent kids and Rhodey has to stop them. But there is one big wrinkle in all of this. How can the MCU organically introduce mutants into their universe when they just met them in Secret Wars? See, the same problem exists for Spider-Man villains. If they want to create a new Dr. Octopus for Tom Holland to fight, he would immediately say, oh, I fought one of you before. So in the same way, in this new universe, people will think that this new Professor Xavier is just a copy of Patrick Stewart. So the simplest solution is, after the events of Secret Wars, nobody remembers the multiverse saga, or like maybe a handful of people. Like Deadpool should definitely remember what happened before, and like he's the only person who does. Otherwise, the MCU is always going to be chained to the movies that came before instead of starting fresh with new storylines. And I think this is why Famke Janssen is not returning with the other original X-Men cast members. She even said that she was not even contacted to reprise the role. I think Scott's going to begin the movie at her grave, and I think she's dead for two reasons. One, if Famke Janssen's Jean Grey is in the movie, then we're just going to be waiting for her to turn into the Phoenix, and then that's going to overshadow the rest of the film. And two, it's been confirmed by Deadline that Sadie Sink is going to be in Avengers Secret Wars. Now to me, this means she's probably playing Jean Grey and not Typhoid Mary. Like, I doubt Marvel's going to bring a second-tier villain like Typhoid Mary into an overcrowded film like Secret Wars. However, they would bring in a founding member of the X-Men, Jean Grey. And then, post-Secret Wars reset, we can start fresh. Marvel can introduce mutants in a new way that we have never seen before. Just like how No Way Home introduced us properly to the multiverse saga, Spider-Man Brand New Day can introduce us to the mutant saga. Like guys, we've had 14 X-Men movies, so Marvel needs to shake things up for this franchise to feel fresh. By introducing characters on the ground level and small, character-focused stories, we're going to care more about each member of the team as an individual. A slow burn intro like this is only possible in a sprawling franchise like the MCU. But most importantly, it would put character first and get the mutant saga off to a perfect start. Well guys, what do you think? Should Sadie Sink be playing a mutant? Are you excited about the mutant saga? What character should they introduce after her? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below and are free to join Discord server or follow me on Substack. That would be a huge help. And don't forget to hit our link below for an exclusive offer from Tokyo Treat. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.